All right. So I believe we're all live. You guys all look well. Thank you for doing this again. So I'd like to welcome everybody to part two of the Sotheby's International Realty Expert Panel. North American experts here discussing the real estate markets from our various regions, and we have almost everybody from the last panel. We're waiting for one more person to jump on, but we'll go ahead and get started. And then when Kevin jumps on, you can just get right into things with us. So anyway, I'd like to introduce our returning panel. So I know our screens are probably a little bit different. So I'm going to start on my screen and I'm going to go from left to right. So first off, I'd like to introduce Petrus Engelbrecht from Sotheby's International Realty Canada. Hi, Petrus.
Hi.
Petrus is in the Greater Toronto area and is Senior Vice President of Sales for Sotheby's International Realty Canada. So thank you for coming back, Petrus.
Thank you so much. Glad to be back.
And then Mark, you're the next on my window. Mark Parrish from Blake Sotheby's International Realty in the Twin Cities in Minnesota. And Mark is the top 1% of the Minnesota Association of Realtors. So Mark, thanks again for coming back.
Thanks, Jeff. Hi, everybody.
And next I have Michael. Michael Schenfeld is from Jameson Sotheby's in Chicago, Illinois. And Michael is the top 1% of the Chicago Association of Realtors. So welcome, Michael.
Thanks,
and last but certainly not least is Ann Dresser. She's with Liv Sotheby's in Denver, Colorado. Oh, perfect timing.
I know, I apologize.
No problem. Actually, I was just going through the introductions.
Okay.
And
I'm in the car. I just left one appointment illegally and going to another appointment illegally.
Well, we're live. So, but anyway, so Ann is the number one top individual producer in Denver, Colorado. So Ann, thank you for coming again.
Thank you. Thanks, Jeff.
Yep, and now we actually have a full returning panel. So everybody that participated in panel one is now back. And last but not least, we have Mr. Kevin Brown. Kevin is with Sotheby's International Realty in New York City, New York. So welcome, Kevin.
Thank you. I am in the car, so I apologize.
This isn't dangerous for you, is it?
No. I'm not driving. I'm not driving. I should probably point that out.
So, well, part one was a big success for all of us. So we had a lot of positive feedback down here from the attendees that have reached out to me. And actually, part two is a little bit of a result of that because the market has changed so much and there's so many moving pieces to our markets right now, to our lives, that we felt like we wanted to come back. People requested that we come back and kind of discuss the real estate markets because it's important to people and what we're seeing since our last panel meeting, which actually panel one was April 24th. So we're a little over a month since that panel meeting, and I know a lot has occurred. A lot's changing. So I'd like to remind all those people that are watching right now, if you would like to send us questions, we'll try to get to them all. We can't guarantee you that we can get to all the questions. We'll get to as many as we can. You'll see at the bottom of your screen, there's a little icon that says Q&A. If you click on that, you can type your question. That will come to me. And then as I see, openings in conversation, I'll ask those questions. If you want to address them to a specific person, that's absolutely fine. So go ahead and feel free to participate and ask questions, and we'll try to get to them. So anyway, so, a lot has changed. I'll jump in real quick to the Florida market and then push it all off over to you for your market updates. But here in Florida, our governor did a phased reopening from coronavirus, phase 1, 2, and 3. We're most of the way through phase 1, and I hear we're starting phase 2 tomorrow. What that means for us is that means restaurants are allowed to open at 50% occupancy indoors. As of tomorrow, bars are allowed to be open at 50% occupancy, and movie theaters allowed to be open at 50% occupancy as well. And they've lifted some rental restrictions, so folks that want to come down to Florida and visit now are more free to do so. There are some still restrictions based upon hotspots, what they consider to be areas that are hotspots, that have I guess 700 or more coronavirus cases per 100,000 people. People from areas that they're not allowed to rent down here right now, but we're hoping, things will start to ease up. So anyway, that has affected our market. We're actually starting to see a little bit of an uptick, and I can go into that a little bit later. A little bit of people starting to dip their toe back in the water. But I'm curious to see, since this is such a great demographic here all across North America, I'm curious to see, what your markets have done. So I'm going to go geographically here. I'm going to start West Coast and move to East Coast. So Ann, you're our furthest west guest from Denver, Colorado. How's it been going? What can you tell us about the Denver area?
Well, the market here has opened up. We're in phase 3, and the restaurants have opened up to 50%, 8 people maximum, 6 feet apart. Gyms are opening up. And so it feels really good. The real estate market, people have had cabin fever. And so people are moving and out and about and ready to look at houses. So we have seen a tremendous increase in the month of May. They're anxious to take advantage of the low interest rates. They're anxious to take advantage, the sellers are anxious to take advantage of the low inventory. And we're still seeing competing offers in all price points.
Wow.
Actually, there was a $495,000 house with 80 showings and 12 offers. $700,000 house with 90 showings and 19 offers, and a $4.5 million house with 4 offers the first day over asking. So
That's
all price
amazing.
points. It's crazy.
That is.
Oh, can everybody raise their hand if you want to move to Denver?
Yes. Yes. I'm sure you do, Kevin. I'm sure you do. We have room for you here.
Okay, so Mark, Twin Cities area. So what have you noticed in the last month as far as openings from coronavirus?
You know, Jeff, so like in the last month, I can say that things have really, they've opened up more. Not as much as what I'm hearing from other parts of the country. We are just starting to open up restaurants, I think it's 50%, but it's mostly outside seating. We don't have gyms open, we don't have theaters open. We're a little slower behind. We're being a little, extra cautious up here with everything. But as far as the real estate market, especially since the last time we've spoken, I mean, we've had kind of similar to what Ann was talking about. My personal business, depending on the location, has mostly been multiple offers. I think you've got a lot of pent-up people that have been working on their homes for the last couple of months. They've been looking online. They've been talking about homes. Spring is the busiest time of the year for us up here. And, we've been seeing homes. I'm surprised at how many showings, physical showings that we actually get right out the gate. And we've been seeing a lot of interest, a lot of multiple offers. And I think it has to do with people being, again, pent up, low interest rates. The weather's finally great. People want to get out and about.
And Michael, how about Chicago?
I'm going to mimic some of what we've already heard, and I'll do that very minimally. But we're in stage 3 here in Chicago, so it's a little different. The city itself versus the suburbs have 2 different ideas of what they're allowed to do, what they can do, and are following 2 different rules. The governor's actually put over all of Illinois a ruling, but then Lori Lightfoot, our mayor, has taken on the city and trying to keep everybody safe. So we're back to restaurants, outdoor seating only, very minimal. It's just as of literally yesterday in the city, and then a couple days ago in the suburbs. And I do service both areas for that reason. With that said, we are seeing, again, pent-up demand, a lot of multiple offers, a lot of interest. In the last just week alone, I think people just feel more comfortable knowing they're going into this stage 3, so that we've seen a lot more activity on listings than we've seen the weeks past. Things feel a little bit more normal. Obviously, everybody is wearing masks, gloves, shoe covers, and so on for all the showings to make sure that we all stay safe and keeping our distance. But at least we're back to showing properties and feeling like we're doing what we normally do.
That's good. That's good. Now, Petrus, if I'm correct, I don't believe we could fly to visit you quite yet. But in Toronto, do they have a phased opening, or are you seeing the same thing?
There is an announcement today on possibly allowing patios to be open for restaurants, but restaurants are still closed, gyms are still closed. They are extending for Ontario the state of emergency until the end of the month. So it's still very much closed as far as the economy is concerned, unfortunately, but similar to all the other markets, we are an essential service, so we are seeing a much higher level of comfort with showings, and so we're seeing a lot more showings are basically back, and I looked and we can actually see the statistics on showings. Showings as of last week are back to just before Corona struck. So our showings are way up there, and obviously sales follow showings. So it's really booming. I think people are more comfortable going out. There is a big emphasis on getting 3D Matterport showings out there. So you can follow those statistics, and a lot of virtual showings or virtual open houses. So there's a huge emphasis on virtual open houses. So between virtual open houses and Matterport, if you count those as people are actually going through your house, there's huge activity and multiple offers as well.
That's great. That's great. So last but not least, Kevin, just to let you know, you're on mute, I believe. So, and now you're off.
Technology.
Get back to Kevin, because I'm curious. You're on, Kevin, you're on mute. If you can hear me, you're on mute. There we go.
I didn't want you to hear all the traffic, and well, we really don't have horns here honking. But I'm jealous that everybody's having all this activity, as well as phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 10. We're still. I'm not even sure we're at phase 1 yet. I think that starts this week. So yeah, we're still like stuck in the waters. By the only since last week or last time we spoke, new development is my goal for this period is just to do 4 deals. I already have 3 of them under contract. I just want to do 1 more. 3 out of those 4 are co-ops. Condominiums and new developments. To give you an idea, last year, let me look at 2019, last week of 2019, they did 16 contracts in new development. This year, last week, there was only 3 throughout the entire city. The price per square foot is remaining the same. There are no bargains in New York City. There never have been. But we just don't have activity. Inventory is slightly going up. But normally in the spring, we're still kind of in the spring mentality that we'd have a great increase in inventory, and we just haven't had that. So it's still pretty grim. I do have to point out, because 2 different of my customers in California both wrote to me and said, "Oh, we saw on the internet all the stores boarded up. The looting must be awful." As far as my understanding, there was like 2 stores that were looted. All the stores are boarded up, just because there wasn't any business, but also for safety reasons. But we have not had looting. We've not had. I'm looking around right now. People are on the street. Everybody's wearing masks. I love my new mask. It's very stylish. You got like that, and so if nothing else, it's more stylish.
There you go, Ann.
So Kevin, I'm gonna keep it to you. So do you anticipate a shift in buyer preference from this? For instance, do you anticipate the appetite for a different type of property coming off the coronavirus?
Yeah, I think that people are going to be looking for larger apartments that have a home office. Before there was such a movement toward big open spaces and loft spaces. And I think that we're going to start seeing people wanting segregated rooms. People are going to be wanting, more than 1 bathroom if you're in a 2-bedroom apartment. Because what if somebody gets sick? So we are going to see a shift. We're also, interestingly enough, in New York, where 75% of our market is co-ops. There had been, for the last 10 years, a shift away from the Upper East Side, the Upper West Side, and people are just moving everywhere in the city. Now, all of a sudden, those hotspots, such as Tribeca, such as Soho, people are now all of a sudden looking at the Upper East Side saying, the downside was it was so sleepy. Now, all of a sudden, people are going to want that. People are going to be able to want to, if you're buying something on Park Avenue, walk out and not run into 100 people.
Yeah.
But we're, and I mentioned this a couple times in other calls. great difference in New York City compared to all of your markets is that you can have single family homes. Our problem is that even when the government allows us to go back and to start showing, we're not going to be able to get into co-ops and condominium and the high rises because those buildings are going to say, we don't want you in an elevator. We do not want a stranger in the elevator. And even if, like you say, okay, I'll wait until the elevator is empty, somebody could have just sneezed, like 3 minutes before. And, and rightfully so, people are concerned.
Yeah.
How's that? I don't mean to be doom and gloom. I think there is light at the end of the tunnel. We're just not sure if it's an incoming train or not.
Petrus, the
Yes.
Greater Toronto area, what are you anticipating any shifts in buyer preferences, what they're looking for as a result?
Absolutely, yes. So what I can see happening already is I'm getting calls. I'm slightly out of Toronto in a city called Oakville, which is traditionally an area that executives like to raise their families in, because it's a really good spot for raising your children. The schools are really good. So it's about 30 minutes out of Toronto, and I'm already seeing many inquiries from people that stay in apartments and condos in Toronto. They want more space. They've been cooped up in their apartments for the longest time now, and now realizing if there were to be a second wave, they'd be cooped up again. So they're already starting to make the calls to me and say, what's happening there in Oakville. And similarly, even people that are in Oakville that already have space, they're looking slightly north of Oakville where there's more land, more acreage. So there's definitely a very definite shift to more space.
Yeah, if I get do you find that you're getting inquiries about compounds, where more than one family can live? Because that would be my fantasy, moving to Toronto or Denver or any other place, is that I could have 3 houses.
Yeah, I actually have a listing at the moment with 4 homes on it, which is a compound. I'm getting lots of inquiries about it, but my client's saying, no, I'm enjoying my compound now. Thank you very much. So unfortunately, the forces are working against me. So I've got a beautiful compound just north of Oakville, well, about an hour's drive north of Oakville, with 4 homes on it, 2 of them being semis. So there's actually 6 spaces, and my client is enjoying that with his family. They can come and visit, and they can keep safe distance and enjoy the property. So yes, that would be, and I'm getting lots of calls on that. Yeah.
Yeah, we have the same.
Because Anna and I run off together,
Yeah.
and buy a compound together.
Well,
We
good.
have the
I'll
same
talk to paperwork.
We have the same thing down here. We have a 14-unit small boutique resort right on the bay on Captiva Island with 35 boat slips. We're thinking it would be an ideal compound for somebody. So that's, we're hoping that, that we'll see a definite increase, because we think that that's what people are going to start seeing.
Absolutely.
What better way to feel safe, have your family close by than to buy a family compound.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to put it over to Michael. Michael, are you anticipating a shift in what buyers are looking for in your marketplace in Chicago?
Well, we've definitely seen a new demand for the suburbs that we haven't seen in years. It's probably been about 10 years since we've seen this demand. Almost 50% of our listings in May that were in the suburbs of the North Shore of Chicago have actually sold. So that was huge for us, because in the past we would be lucky if it was an eighth to maybe a quarter of the market was actually moving and selling. We're seeing a pent-up demand again for homes that have pools. For a long time, that was actually a negative. And now with all the camps being canceled for the summer, we're seeing the demand even for rentals of just North Shore or suburban homes that people can rent for a month or 2 just to get out of the city. But at the same time, the city market is thriving. So similar to Kevin, we do have that concern about the elevators, but I was in several elevators yesterday showing properties in the city, and it's just keeping distance. One had a rule that you had to look at the wall. Each person had to turn around. It kind of felt a little bit risque. I don't know. I felt a little violated that I had to have my face against a wall the whole time. But you do what you got to do in order to move forward. I mean, Chicagoans are strong and they're super vested in the city, so they're not escaping and leaving 100%, I mean, that market too is multiple offers, a lot of things moving. Even our upper end market, which we hadn't seen for a while, is starting to get activity. We haven't seen the sales change with it yet, but we're seeing the listings actually getting calls on them. And again, that might go towards what Kevin was saying as well, and even Petrus, that people want larger properties, that they want properties that they could hunker down in case this happens. I'm saying it to clients all the time that if for some reason we went through this pandemic again, if we got quarantined at home, it would be nice to have additional space or have an extra bathroom or that home office. The things I'm getting calls for or people are asking for most are home offices, home gyms, and just some kind of separation so that they're not on top of each other.
Yeah, in Toronto at the moment, if you want to install a pool, you're gonna have you can't do it this year anymore. There's been an immediate uptake, and landscaping companies cannot help you with a new pool anymore. So they full.
Wow, and that probably wasn't the case for years and years and years.
Absolutely.
I know. I sent this out at the beginning saying on Instagram. I said, best realtor line of the day. Can you see yourself being quarantined in this house?
There you go.
It's true though.
It is. It is true. It is
and we're
true.
seeing outdoor space also, where people would be in these condos where they didn't have outdoor space. And now I'm talking like a postage stamp. You're talking like a 4x4 area. If they can stand out there and turn around once, they're happy.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's it.
Mark, what are you seeing as far as buyer shifts in preference from the result of the coronavirus?
We're the land of 10,000 lakes up here, and even those are shut down. So we're seeing a lot of people. Michael talked about the pools. I've got a couple properties with pools right now that people that are even building are looking to buy these for like a short-term place to live, or even possibly a short-term rental. But we're seeing even the downtown market. Things are selling. If things are priced correctly, I mean, it's our busiest time of the year. We're seeing multiple price points, and the really hot price points for us right now are in that 500,000 up to just under $1 million. And we're seeing we had a shift many years ago, people leaving their big homes out in the suburbs, coming downtown, trying the condo life. And then we had a shift of people coming down and like moving more into the first tier suburbs. And now we're kind of seeing people leaving the city, but there's still some very good upper bracket listings that are going to new buildings that are, it's hard to get even to the buildings. They're still selling. And but we are definitely seeing a shift. We're seeing a shift of people looking for bigger yards, bigger expansions. I think Kevin hit too, possibly separated rooms, that open concept, which was so popular for so long. Maybe the compartmentalized home is going to be coming back into trend.
And how about Denver?
Basically the same as the other cities. We're seeing a shift as far as people wanting to go out. They don't mind commuting because they may not be commuting. They may be working from home, so they want offices at home. They want gyms at home. We don't have 1,000 lakes like Minneapolis, but we have 2, and those are open. We have a couple boats on them. Pools aren't open yet, but we don't have a lot of pools here just because the swim season is only about 4 months. One thing I mentioned on the last call was the resorts closed down, and Vail and Aspen, all the ski resorts closed down for the month of April. And now they're open and people are thriving. They're craving the outdoors. We have, by the way, 300 sunny days a year here, just in case anybody wants to come visit. And so people are out. Denver is an outdoor city, and so are Vail and all the ski resort areas. So people are looking for second homes up there, as well as people flocking to larger homes, whether they be in the suburbs or just outside the city. Our downtown market slowed a bit just because of the dense population and the social unrest. But if condos are priced right, they're selling down there as well. And people are thankful that they have homes. As far as having large homes here, a lot of people do have space to be outside. We don't have big lots unless you go out in the outskirts further, but plenty of outdoor space for people, and they just want to be able to spread out.
We're a little different here in Southwest Florida. We haven't gone vertical yet, so our cities are still kind of spread out more horizontal. So we actually are a pretty big second home market as well. So we have a lot of clients that have primary homes, a lot of your markets, in fact, all of them, that have second homes down here. We're on the Gulf Coast, obviously, and then the islands of St. and Captiva. So we're seeing people from larger cities look to buy, a second or third home down here, and as almost a place to go to if they want to get out of a larger, more densely populated city. So we're actually seeing a little bit of an uptick in that type of purchasing. But I'm going to jump ahead to some questions we've got here. First one's interesting. In your marketplace, are people wearing masks in all of your markets when they're out and about? I'll jump into that real quick. First, for our market, we are not required to wear masks. Most people in restaurants do wear masks. They're servers. I'd say about 50-50 of the patrons actually wear masks. When we go into grocery stores here where I live, you're required to wear a mask to go to a grocery store. When I show real estate, for the most part, we're wearing masks and gloves when we show real estate, and then cleaning the surfaces, high touch areas after the showing. So yes, we're still doing the mask and glove thing here in Southwest Florida. But I'll jump over to Petrus. Petrus, are you seeing a lot of masks and gloves in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, and it depends where you are. The other day, I've got two sons at university, about 3 hours drive from where I am. And I had to go and take a bicycle and a few other things through to them. So it's a 3-hour drive. Get there, not a single mask in sight, not one. Like, they just don't do it there. There's 0 instances of corona. Yeah. So anyway, students are not distancing like they should. But anyway, but in Toronto and Oakville, yes, you would see it in every single shop basically insists that you wear a mask. When we show properties, we wear gloves and a mask. And on my listings, I leave PPE outside of the house. My clients actually put it out. And so in there, you've got shoe covers, a mask, and gloves. And if the prospective buyer, when they come and see the house, if they don't have their own PPE, they have to wear that. So so we leave it out for them so that if they don't have, then they wear it to protect our clients basically on the listing side.
Mark, how about in Twin Cities?
My life lately has been going to Target a lot, so it's a place where I see a lot of masks. I mean, right now we're starting to see a reopening of retail and slowly of restaurants. So the city of Minneapolis has required you will get ticketed if you do not wear a mask inside a public building. So that's a new rule. We, as far as handling real estate, we're still wearing, as a courtesy and being respectful to both our buyers and sellers, we're still wearing masks. Not wearing gloves as much, but we're doing the hand sanitizer and cleaning, removing shoes and all that stuff. It's just total courtesy and respect for the client.
And Michael, other than facing walls, are you doing the mask thing as well?
It's required. Everybody assumes we actually send out a COVID-19 disclosure to any showing that we confirm. It has to be acknowledged by the agent, and then they have to share it with their actual buyers to walk into a property that we're listing. We're also getting, just our instructions. It states that everybody needs to wear their own, or like Petrus, we're leaving it outside for people to put on before they come in. A lot of sanitizer. In fact, we're touching everything in our client's house. We're not allowing the buyers to open anything, do anything. They can walk through, they can ask us to open something up. We just give a little more time for it. It makes everybody feel a lot more comfortable. And the only difference is scheduling a little more time in between showings. The best sign I saw, because all of our restaurants, all of the places that we're going to, all require masks in our area. In fact, some of the villages in the suburbs have actually said, masks are a necessity in any public space, but it said no mask, no service. And instead of the shoes and shirt. So it was it was cute or whatever. And I loved it. I saw it and it made sense that they didn't want people walking in the store without a mask on.
Yeah, it makes sense. So I think I know the answer to Kevin and Ann's questions. They were wearing masks earlier in the panel meeting, but I'll jump over to you, Anne. Are you seeing people just outdoors? Are they wearing masks, or what are you seeing in your area?
Some are wearing masks outside. I think it's a personal preference, but for all showings, we wear masks, pretty much what everybody else is doing, masks, hand sanitizers, booties and gloves, and wiping down everything after the showings. A lot of times people will take them off outside, depending on how long they're at the property. Our showings are limited to 30 minutes, sometimes 15. And some of those competing offer listings, they'd let you in for 15 minutes because they had back-to-back showings all day. And so we couldn't always get in between and wipe everything down, but I think people are being respectful of being sanitary and making sure that they're protecting each other and themselves.
And Kevin, of course, if you had a mask that trendy, why wouldn't you wear it? But
Exactly. But Mark mentioned that he was going to Target. Is that the same store? We call it Target.
Target. Oh yeah.
Exactly, because we're New Yorkers. But no, I just sitting here because I'm about to go into an appointment after this on Park Avenue. Out of the 50 people that have walked by, all but 2 were wearing masks. So I think in New York, one thing that and I'd love to know in your other markets is it seems in certain parts of the country that is becoming a political statement by, I don't want to mention anybody's name in Pennsylvania Avenue, but either if you're not wearing it, how aggressive they are about people who are wearing it and calling them names, saying, like you're nothing but a such and such because you're wearing a mask. Boy, how scary is that thought?
I think anybody will take advantage of any situation they can to draw some attention to something. So
yeah,
we're not seeing that. We're actually seeing people welcoming the masks, wanting people to wear masks.
Good.
Helping with getting masks. I mean, I see a lot of listings on social media and stuff like that. Where can I find? And for instance, this morning I saw one that said, "Where can I find some child-sided masks?" Because they're going back to gymnastics, and therefore they want something with fun prints. And so a lot of the boutique stores in the city have started carrying really great, fun things to encourage the younger generations to wear masks. I think that's a little bit harder to get, somebody under the age of probably 12, 13. I know my 13-year-old doesn't love to do it. So for them to wear them.
Right.
I never thought of the following, and this is a real challenge. I think a client of mine's sister is an audiologist, and she is designing, or I thought I heard him say she's designing a mask which is see-through because her clients lip read. They can't understand people now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't that great?
I heard about that, and that makes total sense because if you read lips, it's just
communicate now all of a sudden.
Yeah. And you get a mask, besides saying Sotheby's on it, but you could also get one that is your face on it.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen that. Smile.
I've got a pretty dry sense of humor, and yesterday I was at a transaction is closing today, so they did their final walkthrough of the property, and I found myself twice making it like a dry joke and smiling, and then people would pick up that cue normally and think, he made a joke. Now it's like, what is he saying? What is he trying to say? And so you can't, it masks literally a lot of innuendos. It's so
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm gonna order one with Kevin's face on it. I want to see how that goes.
You're selling, I'm buying.
Yeah, people definitely take visual. Go ahead, Kevin.
I was gonna ask I know off the mask question. What's happening in everybody's market regarding the international? Are you seeing them coming back? Because out of my 4 deals that are in progress, 2 of them are from mainland China, 1 is from Taiwan, and 1 is from India.
Yeah, I've got a listing at the moment where the buyer is in mainland China. The agent did a walkthrough, and they're just not willing to pull the trigger. They just want to come and see it. So we can't get there, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah, but we're seeing a faith, I think, in our marketplaces that the international buyers are coming. Yeah. They are also opportunists for the most part.
Yeah,
which we're not.
Yeah, we have a few buyers chomping at the bit to get down to our market and look at properties. The two that we have right now are Canadians, and they're just waiting for the opportunity. And actually, that goes
There's
to
nothing more foreign than a Canadian.
Talk about international buyer.
But actually, we touched on this earlier, Petros, but somebody sent in a question. I just wanted to run it by you again, just so they wanted to know if you know when Canada will open the border again. And I know we discussed it early on in the.
I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure.
So are you hearing end of the month?
I might have heard something like that, but I know that there's great caution. So we know it's going to be a very measured decision. That's all I know.
Yeah. So along the lines of masks, the other way we can protect ourselves and people is by shifting the way we advertise properties. So have you noticed a shift in people rather than wanting to take a personal tour? Or have you noticed your online looks and views increasing dramatically? Or have you seen people have a change in how they're viewing properties? I'll start with you, Anne. Anne, are you there?
I barely hear you.
Oh, sorry. Did you hear the question?
No, what was the question?
Have you noticed along the lines of masks where people are changing some behaviors in order to protect themselves more? Have you noticed people shift in the way they view property, where if before they would take a personal tour, now they're leaning towards virtual tours or online research?
Yes, they're leaning more toward virtual tours. They're doing more homework ahead of time. And they really want to know what's out there before they go out. They'll go on Google Maps, they'll do drive-bys, and they'll minimize the tours. There are fewer showings per offer, just because they don't want to be out there physically. And you just have to, they become more efficient. Rather than looking at 18 to 19 houses, they may look at 12 to 14 homes before submitting an offer.
So therefore, I tell this to sellers all the time, that this is not their first showing. When a customer comes in, it's usually their second or third showing because they've gone on the internet so many times.
Right.
Yep, that's true.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're noticing that down here too. The number of showings have dropped quite a bit, but the amount of serious showings to where they're very likely to submit an offer have gone up quite a bit. So fewer showings, but more serious showings.
Yeah,
Michael.
They are more serious.
Yeah, I would agree with that. In our market as well. Yeah. Michael, what are you seeing in Chicago?
1,000% the answer is yes. In fact, I put a property on the market last week that was 3.75 million single family home, boosted on Facebook. Last year this time, if I did the same thing with the same listing, I had about 500 views in about 5 days. This time I had literally 10,000 views for this property. Just by boosting it, not spending a lot of money, not doing anything too crazy with it, just the fact of getting it out there, and people are getting more adept to looking at these drone videos, these virtual showings that we're calling them. And it truly is exactly what you said. It's the first showing, Kevin. It's the second showing a lot of times, because you go through all these different steps and how much time they get to see it, that when you go to a showing, even showing this home and how large it is, it's over 6,000 square feet. When you go to it, the showing is a much shorter period of time because they feel like they've already seen a lot of it and they're just wanting to make sure that they check certain things out. So we're literally, and a third of those 10,000 views watched the whole 3.5 minute video. So it wasn't even that they just clicked on it. I mean, we had a lot of clicks, but the actual show view, the true full views are incredible.
Yep.
So
if you're not doing it, you're really doing a disadvantage to your clients for sure. If people are not using the drone videos, the virtual showings, any tools that we have, because that's really where the market's starting, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a nice thing about being with Sotheby's International Realties. They do give us a lot of those tools that are really, really helpful. I mean, there's a lot of things that we have at our fingertips, which is great to help our clients. Petros, are you seeing a huge uptick in virtual showings?
Absolutely, yes. So on by example, one of my latest listings, I did a Matterport. So for me, you can see the statistics on Matterport, how many unique visitors you had as opposed to views. Within a week, I had 250 people walk through through the Matterport. And then I did on that same property, I did a Facebook Live on my page. Facebook really rewards a live walkthrough, that a 27-minute virtual open house. Within 2 or 3 days, I had 250, just over 250 through plays on 27 minutes. That's people actually walking with me, checking out what I'm saying. And I specifically had somebody that lives in my house with me. My wife was my videographer. I used the gimbal, and we practiced beforehand how we would approach it. If there was a staircase, do I go first? Does she go first? We practiced everything. And then I threw Michael, a small amount at it, and I boosted that. And guess what? Within a week and a half, I was on thousands of views and many, many more through plays. And it really, really rewards you. Facebook really rewards you if you use Facebook Live and you boost that. So again, using Michael's words, I absolutely agree. You're doing your client a disservice if you don't do these things, because that's how they view properties.
Yeah, I agree. Mark?
I don't know about you, but in the past, I was never fond of agent previews. I thought they were a waste of time, but I can't tell you how many I've had in the last month or so, where the agent either brought the buyer back and basically bought it on the first showing, or I've had two where the agent did the preview and then all of a sudden we got an offer. And two of those clients were coming from New York. They just wanted to get out. They wanted to come back home. They wanted to be in Minnesota. So, virtual showings, absolutely, have gone through the roof. I can track all that stuff. I can, present my sellers that, how many people are looking at the house. But it's those agent previews. That one kind of stood out for me this time. Like, wow, okay, that stuff's really working this time.
Makes a lot of sense. That would be a client that really trusts the agent as well.
Really trust you.
We've had more offers from sight unseen buyers elsewhere in the country that are comfortable enough with the technology, with the tours, with the aerial drone videos. They're comfortable enough with that technology. They feel like they know the home enough to take that big step and make an offer. So it's definitely been a shift for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So
also, because we're only looking at from a buyer's standpoint, but from a seller standpoint, to keep them in line, if you will, saying, look what we're doing. And for instance, I just took one that we did over, it was a $20 million listing. And I apologize. I don't follow how many clicks or anything else. But it was really for the owner that I first did the video for. But now I just had to translate it, or dubbed, I guess, into simplified Chinese. And the chance of a Chinese person even looking at it are slim to none. But it doesn't matter. It allows now the owner to see that I am proactive, that I'm trying to get ahead of the market. Because our market, the sellers are always going to remain the same. It's the buyers that are different and how we're responding to the buyers. And I don't know the answer yet, but we should all in our own business plans try and figure out how we are adapting and shifting. Because if any successful broker, I could have said this 20 years ago also, any successful broker, if they're doing the exact same thing that they were doing last year and the year before and the year before, they're going to get slaughtered in the new environment. Is the brokers that are adapting and changing. Do I sound like I'm preaching? I am sorry.
But
I found that not only do we have to do the drone and the videos, but my sellers are also wanting lifestyle videos, and just really demonstrating the benefits of the house, and sitting out on the deck and having a glass of wine and walking up the trail and hiking up the mountain next to the house, and just showing the overall neighborhood and area around it, and picturing yourself there.
Years ago, the New York Times came to doing a pitch, and I said, look, I love doing ads in the New York Times. However, I've never gotten, seriously, any response from the New York Times. And they read all my ads, and they said, Kevin, you put down 2 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, location, whatever. And they said, you're not selling the sizzle. You're not selling the benefits. And your ads are screaming out, oh, here's the property. Go with another broker. and come look at the property. And so, and you're brilliant in doing a lifestyle because you're selling the sizzle, not the steak.
Yeah.
That's what people want today. Yeah.
Well, we're used to it by the Netflix, you turn it on, you get this little trailer that comes up immediately. It's all that instant gratification that we're getting from that. And then the Instagram stories, everybody's showing what they're doing in life and they're quick tidbits. So if you can get a quick tidbit about the property, you're going to grab somebody quicker. And that's why it's so, important to give that, dramatic feel to a property these days, especially on the upper end.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So, since this has kind of taken on, a little bit of an advice feel to it, do you have any advice for buyers and sellers in your markets that you could offer them right now if they're either looking to purchase real estate and or sell real estate in today's environment after what we're still going through? I'd like to hear some words of wisdom from you. So I'm going to start. Let's go ahead and start back with Kevin. Kevin, do you have any advice for buyers and sellers?
Me? I'm like quiet as a church mouse. Yeah, I mean, for like the seller I'm going in right now, and again, every seller in New York says I don't have to sell. That's how they always start off. And he's already said he doesn't have to sell. My advice is actually to hold off. Be prepared right now with all the tours, all of our different tools that Sotheby's affords us, so that when we jump into the market, that we're prepared. For buyers, I try to forewarn them saying there are no bargains in New York City. But people, our big difference is I think boards are going to be more flexible, the co-op boards, which is 75% of our market. And so I think that there's going to be a slight flexibility there. But, because we're not even in phase one yet, my advice is enjoy the Hamptons, go to Denver, and I sell you something, and or whatever that country to the north is, where you're safe.
Okay. So the country to the north. Let's go to Petrus. Petrus, any advice for buyers and sellers in your market?
It might sound a little bit silly, but I strongly believe that in these times, agents that it's the 2080 principle all over again. There's going to be 20% of agents that really educate themselves on technology and how that could benefit their clients. And my advice literally to a seller would be, keeping myself out of it altogether, is make sure your agent is comfortable with technology, because that's how you're going to get ahead in these times. For a foreseeable future, if your agent's not comfortable with technology, you're putting yourself at a disservice.
Wait, did Compass put you up to that?
We've got plenty of technology in Sotheby's. I would venture to say way more
technology.
Yeah, plenty. So no, it's things like Zoom, like we're doing now. There are many agents out there that are not comfortable with that, and you're going to have to do a lot of stuff from a technology point of view. If the agent's comfortable, then you can do business. If they're not comfortable, you can't do good business. So that's just the way of the future now.
Mark, your marketplace up there in the Twin Cities. What advice would you offer buyers and sellers right now?
I'd offer the buyers and sellers the same advice. Don't wait. Work with what you have right now. Time is now, and we know what we're dealing with now. We know where we've come from in the last 2 months. There's a lot of speculation of a second wave, or things might get scarier in the future. But I mean, right now, we've got low inventory. Sellers, get your house out there. Make it available. We're seeing, I can show a seller the statistics of how fast something's selling. The percentages that they're selling compared to list price, it's almost 99%. So sellers, take advantage of the low inventory, even lower than last year. And buyers, I'm telling people to be prepared, depending on what location you're looking in. Sellers it's still pretty much a seller's market. So don't think just because of what you're hearing on TV that you're going to get this huge deal. Things are still selling well overpriced. They're selling quickly. Be prepared, be ready, have your letter ready. It's kind of old school. Just work with what we have now, what we know now, and right now things are still, real estate world clicking along pretty well, at least where I am right now.
And how about in Denver? What advice would you offer your buyers and sellers? I know it's different advice.
Well, sellers, get out there and take advantage of the low inventory so that you don't have as much competition. None of us know what the future holds, but right now the inventory is low and now is the time to sell your home. Take advantage of it, and the buyers need to take advantage of the low interest rates as well as the sellers. Don't wait for competing offers. We had 7,200 showings the first Saturday we opened up, which is an all-time high in history for showings in Denver, in the Denver metro area. So we need to be out there buying and selling. My colleague in Vail put 70 million under contract in the last 2 weeks. So things are really happening.
Wow.
That's great.
That explains why the Realty stock is going up.
That's right. It wasn't me. I will say I've been showing and selling a lot in the last couple of weeks, but I didn't get 70 million under contract.
Michael, your area, Chicago. What?
I'm gonna mimic pretty much everything that people are saying in the sense of like, don't wait. There's still a pent up demand here, both for, you know, again, I service the city, the core of the city itself, and also the North Shore, the northern suburbs, seeing it in both markets. So the pent up demand is, you know, it makes no sense to say I'm going to wait until things calm down or start up or I feel more comfortable, because we can work through all of that and figure out how to limit risk, but at the same time, get you the right exposure that's necessary. And then with buyers, really, I'm gonna go on, you know, preaching for a second here. I know Kevin doesn't, but I'm going to for a second. But work with the right agent. I mean, that's the bottom line. Be proactive, not reactive. Find that agent that actually has their finger on the pulse. Many of the opportunities aren't even hitting the market right now. So therefore, if you're not with the right agent or working with an agent at all, you're not knowing what's going on out there through these communities. The statistic is something like we have like 45,000 agents in our local area, and the top 500 do something like 87% of the sales. So that's huge. If you look at those numbers, you really want to be working with the right person. And, you know, keep in mind that your buying power is enormous right now with low interest rates. A month from now, a year from now, it may not be the same. If the rates go up by 1%, your buying power goes down by 10%. That's a big impact. At $1 million buyer, that's a $900,000 buyer if interest rates start going up. So definitely take advantage of what we have, and things are out there. So, you know, reach out and talk to the people that are in this room, or talk to the people that you know, and start working on getting yourself into a new quarantine position.
Amen. Oh, you're not preaching. Sorry.
So we have a few questions come through here. First one is, and I'll start with this one. Do you get the client to purchase through the virtual walkthrough? How much does it typically cost to have done? So I can say for my team, yes, we actually just had a $3.2 million sale that the buyer never stepped foot in the property. It was all done with what we call a 3D Matterport tour, and then aerial drone photos and virtual tours. So yes, we can sell properties, and I think the technology right now is there that people feel very, very comfortable. And you know, it's happening for us. You know, we just had that closing about a week and a half ago. You know, all these tours, and you know, the aerial, the drones, like a menu of services. So you can do X, Y, Z, and you can pay as much as you want. You know, depending on the type of videos that you do. I'd say when it's all said and done, you know, our average bill is over $1,000 with all the tour per listing, with all the tours, professional photography. You know, the drone videography, some lifestyle, like Anna's saying. So we're for each listing that hits the market, before it's hit the market, we're over $1,000 in invested tour technology. How about let's go to Mark. Here.
Like I said earlier, I personally have not sold anything virtually. I've had success with the agents doing the previews that they've shown their clients, I guess, virtually that way, and they've made offers. So nothing personally.
And Petrus, how about you?
It's interesting. One of my very first deals was done virtually. A client of mine saw me posting on Facebook. He bought it sight unseen. So that's just an interesting little story. But of late, yeah, similar to yours, like the cost is really, pretty high. If you use a quality videographer and quality Matterport and so forth, it's not inexpensive, and it can be in a range between $1,000 and $2,000 depending on the property and the size of the property. And I haven't sold anything of late virtually, but as I said, there's lots of interest, and I know a lot of people go through those because you can track a lot of that stuff. So it's definitely worth it, every penny.
I'm going to jump over to another question here because it's directed specifically to you, Ann. Ann, you mentioned the lifestyle is part of the sell. How are you applying it with technology to sell your lifestyle videos? How are you applying that to achieve the sale?
I can't hear you, Jeff.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Here, let me slide a little closer here. This question is directed for you, Ann. It says, Ann, you mentioned lifestyle as part of the sell, so your lifestyle videos. How are you applying it with technology?
I'm sorry, my internet connection is lacking, so I can't hear the question. So you can go ahead and move to the next.
Okay, we'll jump on to the next question, and then we can circle back if we have time. So next question I have here, and we're running about an hour here, so we'll start to wrap it up, is I know buyers tend to like, or no, I'm sorry, not buyers, but customers and our viewers here tend to like statistics. That's the way my mind tends to work a little bit. Do you have any statistics of how your markets have performed since our first panel meeting, which was April 24th? So in a little over a month, have you noticed buying activity picking back up? I know Kevin's already touched on his market a little bit. Have you noticed inventory increasing, decreasing? So just a quick update on each one of your markets from a statistical standpoint. And Michael, I'm gonna start with you.
Definitely we've seen an uptick in our market. We've seen not only an uptick in activity, but we're finally starting to see an uptick in listings coming on the market. So that's been really good. For instance, from year to year, we were about last year, 2019, we're down about 19% right now from year to year. However, that's so minimal. And we're talking about, our company, if you will. It's so minimal compared to what we thought. We thought we'd probably be down 30, 40% at this point, and we're kind of expecting that. We're seeing about 19%. However, keep in mind that we are up over 21% on the first quarter from year to year. So in essence, we're pretty much probably equal, and we're starting to see that spring market, which we thought was going to happen, where everything was going to be shifted just to start more in that June, July kind of time period, instead of being that real strong February, March, April, which we didn't get that strong March, April because of COVID-19. So we're definitely already starting to see that. And therefore, again, we talked about this last time, we're going to talk about it every time, is that this was not a housing market issue. This was a pandemic. And therefore, we're not seeing a correction in the marketplace. So if somebody's really seeing and wanting to wait there for a deal, in my opinion, they're going to be waiting for a long time. It might take a year or two before we see some foreclosures, some short sales, something maybe hitting the market. But there's a lot of time in between for the market to correct itself. So we might never see that. So why wait when you're looking at real estate as a long-term hold? That could be a 5-year hold, a 10-year hold, and some people it's a 30-year hold. What's the difference? As long as you get in at the right rate, you're paying a payment that you're comfortable with, and when you get out, you do okay.
Kevin, you mentioned the 4 sales as opposed to, I believe you said same time last year was 16 or something like that. Are there any other statistics you'd like to offer to kind of highlight where your market is right now in New York?
No, because the statistics, and all of our markets, it's everybody likes a short answer, but it depends on if it's a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom resale, new development. But right now, our market is absolutely at a standstill. Out of the 4 deals that I'm currently doing, one is in a co-op. That was virtually done. And the buyer just trusted me. But I just want to point out, circling back, I wrote some notes saying that there's 4 things that, like I would want your brokers to think about. One is that, that in some ways this is a sabbatical. When a teacher takes a sabbatical, they're not going on vacation. They're taking that time to recharge. Number 2 would be to refresh, your knowledge and your focus. This is a great time to be doing that, and keeping your eyes open. Third thing I would encourage your brokers is saying re-engage and strategically with all your clients and customers you think you have, but go back 10 years and just send them a hello, re-engage with them. And then the 4th is what I already touched on, was to reboot. So there's like 4 R's. So, to reboot and to reinvent yourself every single day. See, I can't go without 5 minutes without pontificating. So there we have.
Ann, are you able to hear me again?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, great. We're talking statistics.
Right.
Just giving a little bit of an update on each of our markets from a statistical standpoint. I was wondering if you had anything you'd like to share.
Yes, there was a 56% increase in listings in May over April to reach 7,312 homes. 3,152 homes sold in May, which was down about 17% from April. And the sales in 2020 were 19,082 compared to 22,000 in April 2019. So homes sold in May were down about 19% from April. The closed price to the list price was still 99%. And the days in the MLS is about the same in 2019 and 2020, about 31 days. And the homes under contract increased 114% from last month.
Wow.
Pending contracts really skyrocketed.
But so in some ways, what Michael just said, which is, like if you're looking for a bargain, this is not a period about bargains. There is a pent up demand, and obviously, and your market proves that.
Yeah, our April kind of mirrors yours, and our April, according to the Florida Association of Realtors, was down about 20.7%. We saw a decline in single-family home sales. It was mostly the first half of April was a steep decline, and then it started to slow recover. The interesting thing for us down here was the number of cash buyers significantly decreased as compared to buyers utilizing a mortgage. We think that's because with the uncertainty in the stock market, a lot of our cash buyers have their funds in the stock market and they pull out to purchase real estate. So we think that uncertainty had them hold on and stay in the stock market and hope for a little bit of a recovery prior to pulling funds out. But we're seeing that trend start to decline a little bit, where we're coming back to more stability. We're starting to see more buyers enter our market here in Florida, and we think that's going to increase as people are allowed to travel again. And we actually predict it's going to be a relatively strong summer. So, Petros, I'll jump over to you. Same question about your market.
Yeah, so the market's been so dynamic. So what I decided to do is I would do a weekly video for my clients just to show what the weekly shift is. We came off such a low base at the end of, or sort of like 2/3 into March, that we had showings wise and new listings basically had a 20% growth every week to where we are now. From a showings point of view, the number of showings are, as of Friday last week, exactly on par with when we were at our height just before COVID, and all the sales are tracking that. But April was about 50% down on last year. So that's quite significant. But I think we're playing a lot of catch up. To Michael's point, normally our spring market, even though it's super cold still here in February, now starts really early in February, March, April is our really strong spring market. And we just obviously took a pause. And for the last week or so, I feel that people are really comfortable getting out there, going to showings, and we're seeing multiple offers and lots of showings happening. So I think we're going to play serious catch up now, going all the way to probably August. It's going to be a very busy time for us.
That's great. Mark, how about in the Twin Cities? What statistics have you seen the last month since we first met?
Well, we've been going through a lot of mixed emotions, and since this whole thing started, but this, again, the stats talk for themselves. We're actually up 1.1% in sales, pending sales since last year, May of 2019. Wow. And just recently, in the last couple months, you know, we have supply of homes are down 4.3%. We've got median sales price, which is the big one, up 6.3%. Wow. And days on market is even down 2%. So, you know, it depends again on the overall locations where some of these places are, but like I said earlier, time is now. Don't wait. I've had many conversations, especially with buyers, of let's just wait. Hey, where's that foreclosure list, or where's the short? I'm like, it's not there. We don't know if it's going to come. It probably won't come, and if it is, it's not going to come for a very long time because it's not a financial crisis. Yeah. The numbers speak for themselves, and it's very easy for us as agents to remove ourselves, to take the personal approach out of it and just say, this is what the numbers are. This is what the market's saying, and just throw it back at that. And it's hard to argue that.
Well, I appreciate everybody being here. I know we've had this booked for about 2 weeks now on the books, and I know everybody's schedules are pretty demanding, and it sounds like everybody's really busy. That's great to hear. So, you know, thanks for participating again. You know, really appreciate it. To those of you whose questions we didn't get to, feel free to reach out to any one of us on our social media, email, what have you, Facebook. Just you'll find us. We're out there, and so sorry if we didn't get to your questions, but I'm going to wrap this up with one last thing, and this is, I just kind of find this interesting. But one last question for all of our esteemed panelists here: if you could describe your marketplace right now in one word or phrase, how would you describe where you are right now? I'm going to start with, let's start with Mark.
I'd say it's thriving. Surprising. Thriving.
Thriving. It's good. It's good. Petrus?
Playing catch up.
Catch up.
Okay. Playing catch up, yeah.
Playing catch up. I like it. Michael?
Confidence. Seeing a lot of people having a lot of confidence in what's out there right now and what's happening.
Well, for ours, I'm going to say cautious optimism would be the phrase that I would use. Ann, how about you?
I'm going to say feeding frenzy.
Ah, there we go.
But I'm going to cheat and say one more: home. Home has never been so important.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. And Kevin, last but obviously not least.
Hopeful.
Hopeful.
And Mark had more than one word, so.
But again, everybody, thanks. I really appreciate it. This actually was a lot of fun, and I hope everybody watching found it extremely informative. Like I said, I know we've had this standing appointment for over 2 weeks now, and I really appreciate you all making it happen with me. And if anybody has any questions for us, you can find us, and feel free to look each one of us up directly and ask your questions. We'll answer the rest of them. But you guys all look great. Stay healthy, stay safe, and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you, Jeff. Come to Denver and see us.
Yeah, I will.